Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at VECHAIN. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so before we get into the mine accounts here, we're going to talk about the two main ideas that we are following. So the one is that we are looking at this move to the upside as a three-wave structure, looking at this as a three-wave move to the downside, and then looking for the potential that we could see a C wave to the upside. Now, what we want to see here for a C wave would be a five-wave structure to the upside. And what I would be looking for here as targets for this would actually be this 1618 to this 1236. We need to also respect the fact that this move has come up to this 1-to-1 level over here. But what I would be looking for is a bit more of a substantial move here. So forming something like this to the upside. Now, if we do see a bigger five-wave structure play out here, we also need to be aware of the potential that we could see something like a 2618 extension. It is very rare, but given the state of this move to the upside so far, if we had to see a 345 in this way, effectively we could potentially be looking for something along these lines. But we also need to be careful here because we have the alternate count as well, where what we were saying is that we are potentially looking at this as a triangle over here, in which case what we could potentially still get is a C wave to the downside. Now, currently what I'm looking for is that, if this is a C wave, I want to see five-wave structure to the downside. Currently, it isn't looking great unless we say that we've had an extension in the fifth wave. So we're still looking out for that possibility of this move where we could see another move down here towards this minimum of the 618, which would be here at this 0156 to this 1-to-1 level. Now, we do have a target box in this area between this 1148 and this 008. 88 region that I'm going to be keeping an eye on if we do see price looking to fall away in this way. Okay, so let's get into those two different ways that we're looking at it. So if we are talking about that potential of seeing a move to the upside here, what we were talking about in the previous video was that we could potentially have this counted in this way, where this is 1, 2, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and what we were looking for was an additional fourth and a fifth. Now, the reason I don't like this count so much anymore is because of the fact if this is a fourth wave, it is still respecting the area of a typical fourth wave, but the time comparison between this fourth and this wave 2 has become too big now. Now, we could also potentially count this move slightly different and say that we complete into this high, where what we say is this is 1, 2, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for wave 3. This would be our fourth and fifth. So this is looking more likely at the moment. I am still looking out for this potential that, if we do see a five-wave move up towards this 2364 to this 2214 region, this could still align with this idea, though we need to be aware that it is also possible this is completed here, in which case we'd be expecting a bigger corrective structure to the downside. Now, if we are looking at this in this way, effectively what we'd be saying is that this is potentially an A wave to the upside, and we're looking for this B wave. Now, the most common area that we look for a B wave is between this 50% and this 786, though we can see these fall short of these. So we need to be aware that there is still potential here. We could see something like a shorter B wave play out here and then see a direct push to the upside. Ideally, I would like to see it come down a bit deeper here. I'd like to see it move towards at least this 382, but we need to just respect that it has come down towards this 236, which is a rare target for a wave B, but it is still a target. Now, if we did have to see something like a reversal from this current area, what we'd be looking for to the upside would be potentially this 2687 as our 1-to-1. Now, if you want to see a five-wave move, that would make this target for the 1618 up here at this 3461. So that would mean that we'd have to see quite a substantial move up here if this is completed where it is. However, like I said, this B wave could still be in play and we could be looking to move to the downside. Now, in the previous video, what we were talking about was this potential of this actually being a W, this being an X and a Y, but we didn't actually move up one more time here. So we're saying that, potentially we could see this X already completed into this point here. And then what we were saying is, there was that option of either moving up or we're looking for this ABC down. Now, it does seem to be respecting this idea of this A, B, and the C to the downside here. 1-to-1 target is here at this 1714, and the minimum requirement is actually here at this 1776. So, going to be keeping an eye on this level of the 0.618 here, because this would be bringing us back into some of these lows over here. So, going to be keeping an eye on that idea. However, if we do see this move to the downside at this 1-to-1 level, this 1714 would be a potential target. Now, if we are looking at this as W, X, and Y, our 1-to-1 of the Y wave is also down here towards this 1684 level. So this would align with the idea that, if we are looking for this potential of coming back down here into this B wave, location. This 1-to-1 of the C wave would bring us into that 382. The 50% would be here towards this 1618 level. But what we'd have to be careful is if we do start to move down towards this 1618 level here, this could actually turn into 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In which case, what we would potentially be looking for would be a much deeper correction here, where this could just be A, B, and C. But the problem is, if we do start to move down towards this lower level here of this 1521, what we need to be careful of is that this isn't breaking down in a 5-wave structure, because then potentially what we could also argue here is that this is 1, 2, and then we're looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5. So we need to be careful of that idea, because we can count this potentially as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into this. This is a corrective structure up as a WXY for a wave 2, and then looking for that continuation down in 5-wave moves. So need to just be on the lookout that, you know, if we do start to break down, particularly past this 1521, then we can see a bigger breakdown happen here. So now if we are looking at the idea that we had that triangle, rather, what we need to be cautious of is that at the moment we do have potentially, like I said, we can count this as 5 waves, but it can also be counted just as a 3-wave move. So because of that fact, we need to be careful here, you know, until we find support above this low again, that this move could actually just look to roll over, and we could see price starting to break to the downside in either a C wave here, where we're looking for this target of this 0.618 here as a minimum, and then we would want to see how we react around this 1-to-1 as well if we look to push down directly. So need to be on the lookout that, you know, if this is just 3 waves up, we could start to form something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as a diagonal, or alternatively this could just be a 3-wave move back to the downside here. So on the lookout for this. If we start to break down impulsively, we could be looking for something like a C wave to the downside here in this case. Now, if we are looking at the internals of this idea, what we'd be saying here is that potentially what we could have is that either this is 1, 2 into this high here, or alternatively this is 1, 2, 1, 2 here. We have another 1 and a 2 here. Now the problem that I have with this idea is that these wave 2s are actually bigger than the higher degree wave 2 that we've got over here. So it is still technically possible, but we need to actually see it confirmed by moving down towards some of these lower targets. If we do move back up above this 1987, this would actually invalidate this idea of this move looking to break down in this way. So this is our bearish count here, and what we'd be saying is we need to be very careful here, because on the shorter time frame it does look like we have that potential for 5-wave structure down. So if we do see price actually fail to break back above this high of this 1899, and even if we do retrace to the upside here, if we fail to break back above this 1874, then the likelihood is that we're going to see some continuation to the downside here, where this becomes 1, 2, and then we'll be looking for this idea of a 5-wave structure, which would be quite easily possible for us to move down towards this 1637 then. So this is why we need to be just a little bit cautious of this idea that if this is 1 and 2 here, then potentially we could see a 5-wave move down here towards this 1637. But invalidation of this idea actually as it stands here would be moving back above this 1899, in which case then we'd have to start being careful of that potential that we could see some kind of a reversal to the upside, but we don't have any evidence of this currently. So that's what I'm looking for here, both on those bullish and those bearish counts. As long as we stay below these highs, the likelihood is that we are still going to see continuation down here, where we could see this actually develop as a 5-wave move. Now, if we do get this develop as a 5-wave move, we need to watch this 1637. If we move down past that level, then effectively we could see something like this play out as a bigger impulse, as we've got it marked out here. Alternatively, you know, within this smaller time frame, if this just actually develops as A, B, and we just get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we don't actually push down towards those levels, and we just get something along these lines of a 1-to-1 move here, or even just down to this 0.618, we could potentially look for some kind of a reaction to the upside. Now, if we are looking to break to the upside in a bigger impulse from this level, what we would expect is price to break out of this channel, come back down, retest this, and then look to continue to the upside. As long as we remain within this channel, we just need to be aware that, you know, price has rejected a few times off these levels, so it could continue to do so and see price look to just fall off. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that these have actually printed lower than the previous day. So this is giving us an initial bearish bias here. And for as long as we stay below these central lines, which would be this 1803 to this 1813, there is potential that we could see price either look to move down and test the previous daily low, which is sitting here towards us 1783. And if we fail to hold that level, we could see price actually look to move down deeper here towards this S1 line, which is sitting at this 1772. Losing this level, other targets for today to the downside would be this 1748. We have this 1710 and this 1686 as potential downside targets. If we do manage to see price looking to reverse back to the upside here, getting back above these lines, targets for today would be this 1833. I would be mindful that we do have this previous daily high sitting here towards this zone of this 1844, as well as a possible rejection area. So be watching out for that interaction if we do see price move up here. Other targets to the upside would be this 1867, this 1894, and this 1930 as possible upside targets for today. Now, moving over and having a look at the weekly CPR lines here, what we can see is that we've actually lost the S1 line here. Now, if we do see price continuing to fall off here, potential targets for this week to the downside then become this 1730 and this 1645 to the downside. If we do see price actually manage to get back above this line and look to come back up here, we need to be cautious that we could get a retest of this 1878 to this 1891 and still find resistance in this area. So if we do see price complete a 5-way move down here, we see 3 waves to the upside and potentially come back up into this zone, but fail to take this high, then the likelihood is that we're going to see this actually directly move to the downside here, where this becomes 1, 2, and then we're going to look for continuation down. So that's what we'll be looking for here on the weekly. If we do manage to reclaim these areas, upside targets for this week would be this 1956, this 2039, and this level here of this 2111. Now, if we look at the monthly here, what we are going to see is that we are currently setting a higher CPR line. Now, this is giving us an initial bullish bias here, but price is actually currently below these levels. Now, if we see price come back up into this zone and look to reject, then potentially this would align with the idea of seeing that continuation down. Alternatively, if we do see price come down here, we do have the S1 target sitting here towards us 1724. So going to be keeping an eye on this zone. If we do see price come down here, potentially we could look for a reaction there, where this could be potentially looking at this as ABC, and there's some extension within this move here. This would align with that idea that, you know, this 1-to-1 is also in this area. So going to be keeping an eye on that if we do see price starting to fall off towards these lower levels. If, however, we lose that zone, other targets for this month become this 1589 and this 1389 as well. If we do see price actually see a reversal to the upside here, we manage to reclaim these areas here of this 1957, 1924, and this 1894, we can potentially then see price look to move to the upside. Targets would be this 2065. We have this level here of this 2263 and this 2401 as potential targets to the upside for this month. So we're going to be keeping an eye on these areas, because these are areas that price can actually look to pivot if they do move into it. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on them to see if we do get any interactions with these. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.